And everybody, we've got a little special edition here. We just got out of practice. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by CJ Vogel here of On Texas Football. Good stuff, CJ. This is my, I guess, third or fourth practice to go to this fall. This was your first one because you had some personal business to attend to. So I actually wanted to use your fresh eyes and get a fresh perspective for folks that are just now hearing it and seeing it. So give it another person. But before we do that, let's get some of the minor stuff out of the way. Connor Stroh, the second or third team offensive guard, limited in today's practice, very limited. Other than that, it looked like the Longhorns were fairly healthy overall. You agree?
Yeah, definitely. I saw a little bit of a wrap around Aaron Butler's leg. I saw a green jersey on Michael Taft, which sounds like had been there
Yeah.
and ready to get off from Michael Taft as well. But other than that, it looked fairly healthy out there. Not many guys on the backfield stretching or getting work from the training staff. So overall, I mean, very important going into first padded practice coming up this week.
Very interesting kind of nuance to today's practice that was different than previous ones. They started out by going hurry up offense down the field with all three quarterbacks. Each one had 5 plays, I believe, or 6 plays in quick succession. We'll show you a little bit of that either in this video or later today when we get a chance to compile it all. But Arch Manning, Quinn Ewers started off. He handed the ball off twice. Third pass was a throw to Jonte Cook in the flat. Jonte dropped it, but then they went on, had a couple other catches, etc. Walked into the end zone a little bit. Then we had Arch Manning go. He did the same similar type of thing. First pass to Ryan Wingo, then marched down the field. Trey Owens comes in. He throws a dart almost to Ryan Niblett. Niblett makes a nice catch.
It was a nice catch.
Yeah, behind him. That's how they started practice. Usually they start with special teams and maybe just some innocuous drill work, trying to knock the ball loose, that sort of stuff.
It does feel like this year specifically, Bobby, we're seeing a little bit more of them, of the staff and Sarkisian kind of peeling back the curtain, showing us a little bit more than what we've seen in years past around this time. Again, normally we just see special teams in this period. We did see that today. But to get a little glimpse of what that team could do in that team period, I mean, following up from almost an hour session a week ago, we're seeing a little bit more at this point this year in practice than we have previously.
All right, I want to get your thoughts, your initial first thoughts. That's the first time you've seen Silas Bolden on a football field. He is small, right? I mean, he really is, but he's really, really quick. What are some of your other observations that you might have based on this being your first glimpse this fall?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, I think I have an understanding at this point of what the big picture offensively will look like. To me, when I try to generalize what I saw out there, Bobby, they're not lying whenever they say we feel good about the depth on this team. You know, you can look at every single position and see production, experience, and a wealth of NFL talent, really. You know, when you start looking around, and I know some of that big kind of question mark right now is what does that defensive line end up looking like? Well, right now I saw 6-7 bodies that are capable of taking big-time snaps this year and have done so in the past. The question is who are going to be your stallions amongst your horses, and that's kind of where the overall question is. Regardless, a lot of depth, a lot of talent, experience on the defensive line. You can tell right away, Bobby. These guys have been through college football seasons, weight rooms, and off seasons. They're looking good in my eyes.
Yeah, I think they look good. What did you think of the defensive line? Because you paid particular attention. Then I went over and looked at the offensive line this morning in particular. What did you think of the defensive front?
Yeah, there are a couple things, right? I think the overall size was encouraging. I saw, Bill Norton for the first time. He's all 335 pounds that he's listed at. Alfred Collins looks tremendous. And he looks rounder than he has in years past. And I think that bodes well for him being able to anchor down, in that interior defensive line. Not necessarily has been a strength of his during his time at Texas, but that was encouraging as well. I was actually surprised on the opposite side for Jermaine Lole, maybe a little smaller than I thought. He's listed at 6'3", 315. I don't know if I'm buying that, but
not the height, but maybe the weight.
The weight I'm buying. The height, maybe not.
Yeah.
Alex January, first time getting to see him since the spring. Jerry Hamilton and you, Bobby, have really sung his praises in terms of body transformations. He looked tremendous.
Yep.
And he didn't look. You know how sometimes you see the interior defensive linemen and they're built, you see the 320-pound weight next to their name, and maybe they don't look as stout or as sturdy. He looks really impressive for a true freshman going through his first week or two of fall camp.
I thought it was interesting that when you look at that group, how, to your point, Alfred Collins has kind of reapportioned his body weight.
Definitely.
And it's the same thing with Alex January, just at a younger age, reapportioning his. I mean, seriously, on the offensive front, that was my first time really spending a lot of time with the offensive line today. And I would say that, look, NATO was running second team left guard. Cole Hudson was running second team right guard. Other than that, everything else was the exact same. I will add this. I watched a lot of individual drill work. It's my first time seeing Daniel Cruz. Daniel Cruz, the true freshman, may be the quickest offensive lineman in the program. And I mean over everybody, including Kelvin Banks, everybody else. Just extraordinarily quick and looks like he's powerful as well. I think he's going to look next year. He and Connor Roberts are going to have a little go for that center spot after Jake Majors leaves. And I'm telling you, I think Daniel Cruz may be good enough that you have to look at him at other positions too, because he is just, he is quick and massive and looks like he's powerful as well.
That I noticed that as well during the stretch lines. He looks, like he's not just been in a spring practice in a summer, right? He physically looks impressive.
Yeah, he looks like a guy that's been here 3 years, not 3 months. I think that's one way to put it. What about the secondary? I noticed there were some changes in there in the secondary. Jelani McDonald, said, was running first team with Michael Taft at safety. Jalen Gilbo was still running first team at star. Anything else back there that you noticed?
Yeah, I thought that was a bit interesting, right? I think we understand that the safety room is supposed to be improved, right? You go out, you add Andrew Makuba. Obviously, Derek Williams is returning, expected to take that sophomore leap once again. Maybe a surprise to see Jelani McDonald back there, but I mean, if there's ever a time for him to prove that this is the spot for him to earn reps on the field, now's the time. And again, you put up the note earlier, Bobby, on Texas Football in our live practice thread. I think Michael Taft's ready to hit somebody. He's in that green jersey still. He's got a little bit of a wrap on his hand, but he's ready to get out there and start getting physical with some folks.
Yeah, I think it's funny. People are asking about Michael Taft and that the wrist injury. He injured that against Texas Tech. So this is not a new injury. He just got some work done on it. He'll be fine by the time the fall, or by the time Colorado State comes around. The other things that I think that they did with Jelani McDonald, and you're going to see this, they're going to rotate guys in to make sure they're accustomed to playing with the first team. What's interesting, though, is if you were doing that, they are doing that full force with Jalen Gilbo, practice after practice after. This is 4 now, or 3 that you and I that I've seen personally where Gilbo ran out as first team nickel. That's just crazy to me. I want to.
It is.
Go ahead.
Crazy. I wanted to add, just in the sense that that hype from a year ago with Jahdae Barron, it's going to remain. He's going to be a big piece of this defense, 100%. But you start talking about semifinalists for the Thorpe. What can he do to get over that ledge, if you will, and get into the finalist conversation this year? That that there's going to be a push and a campaign if he comes out and he has as similar a season a year ago to start SEC football play, right? To move to number 7 and then to be running with that second, to me, with knowing Jahdae, that's a selfless move in a sense that the expectations for Jahdae Barron are very high this year, right? You don't move to number 7, Bobby, a number in which has won a Thorpe Award and not continue to have those high expectations. So for him to be running with that second team right now, to be moved around a few places in that secondary, that's a team player move in my eyes, part of the selfless culture that we've seen and heard talked about with this team moving forward. This is your first look at the team, and that's what we're talking about here. CJ was gone last week, had to deal with some personal issues away from football. So I'm kind of quizzing you a little bit about what you thought, a fresh set of eyes, right? Yep. What did you think about the running backs? Yeah. No, Jaden Blue looks good. That was the first running back that caught my eyes. Just seeing him, I think he added about 8-10 pounds to his frame. Yep. I know he's listed at 200. He was around 210, 212 by the time that summer was in full swing. He looked really impressive. He looks like a guy that could run between the tackles. Maybe not as often as a CJ Baxter, but certainly willing to get in between and run between those 300-pound guys, as we saw. We know the speed's still there. He looked good. He had a catch out of the backfield as well. CJ Baxter, again, just that second year of football now.
I'm telling you, Rod Babers called this.
Yeah.
He really did back in the right after the Washington game. He said, what that guy needs to do is put on some armor, and he'll take the next step, because you know what? He was off injured as a freshman, and it was a little dinged up injuries. Rod said he had to get used to the college game, getting in a weight room, really getting after it. That's what he looks like right now. I mean, he doesn't necessarily look like, I try to explain this. He didn't have any baby fat last year, so I want to be clear about that. He wasn't that at all, but you can tell after 1 year, his weight has kind of been redistributed.
Yeah.
Sorry, excuse my language there. But long story, that happened. Trey Wisner looks bigger and just thicker, just slightly. Not, Trey still has that very wiry build, but it's more muscle.
Fitted for being a slasher back.
Yes,
like we talked about his role going to be. The other thing I noticed, and there's only one play in that kind of 5-6 play drive that the first team went through, there was a little bit more patience shown, I thought, when they handed the rock off to CJ Baxter. Again,
you mean his patient running
just
style?
Kind of letting things distribute and kind of, figured itself out in front of him. It was only one play, so maybe a little misleading there. But, that was an issue at times, I thought. And it's a young freshman issue at the running back spot. You get the ball and you want to go. And it takes time, in my eyes, at the running back spot to allow the formations of your offensive line, the blocking schemes to, kind of figure it out, and let those blocks set up. You get the ball and you just want to get downfield and get going. And I thought that on the play that we watched, he showcased some good patience, dance around the backfield a little bit and then hit the hole when it provided itself for him.
That if he learns that, he's going to be hell on wheels.
Absolutely.
And so what about the wide receivers? Any thoughts there? We talked about Bolden out of the gate, and just his diminutive stature. I was talking to somebody at practice today that's been there the whole time, and he says, I just can't wait to see number 11 in DKR. He is a special little dude. What are your thoughts on the wide receivers overall? Ryan Wingo, Jonte Cook, Matthew Golden, that group, Isaiah Bond.
Yeah, first off, the first unit that we watched, it was Jonte Cook, it was DeAndre Moore, it was Isaiah Bond.
No change from first 3 practices.
Meaning your second group was Ryan Wingo, Silas Bolden, and of course Matthew Golden.
Mm-hmm.
And so what was interesting to me is, you could look at either one and say, if either group right there, if they want to start, they're the starting group. And now I don't know, Bobby, if there would have been any drop off from the first or second, or maybe an increase in terms of overall ceiling at the playmaking position. I was encouraged again. One thing really stood out to me, and it's who's going to be the guy that does the dirty work, right? Who's that Jordan Whittington of the group who maybe isn't seeing 10 to 12 targets a game, but is getting out there playing 50 snaps and is providing that extra blocking off the edge, setting up the screens that Sarkisian likes to utilize so often. That was DeAndre Moore to me, who had a great kick-out block on Michael Taft, and it was Matthew Golden in the second group as well. DeAndre Moore, if he's going to find the field in this crowded wide receiving room, it's going to be having to do that dirty work, as I mentioned. And right away, he, I know they're only in pads and a helmet, Bobby, but he laid, some good wood on Michael Taft right there, kicking him out, allowing Jonte Cook to catch a screen ball and get vertically up the field. That was encouraging to me, in the sense that he will go that extra work there. Obviously, I think we know what speed this group possesses as well, but that little nuance stuff is going to help this wide receiving group go from really good to elite, in my eyes.
Yeah, Jerry Hamilton reported late last week that DeAndre Moore's job, he thought this offseason would be to emulate Jordan Whittington from the past year. And so you're onto something there a little bit, in my opinion. The other thing I would say about this group, just looking at the group as a whole, the tight ends still are impressive to me. I mean, just they're deeper, much deeper than I gave them credit for going into this season. I really I'm coming away with this each and every week, each and every practice, saying, I did not give the tight ends enough credit. I just didn't, because I thought, they'll they'll probably be a mix of Gunnar Helm and Amari Nyblack. Well, Juan Davis, he may be a Jordan Whittington type on this team in some respects, depending on the type of offense they're running, whether they go 2 tight ends or not. And Jordan Washington is going to be a dude. I mean, at some point in time, that guy's going to make it. And this is just as long as he stays healthy, stays on the straight and narrow, works his butt off, all those, he's going to make a lot of money playing football.
The other thing I wanted to add to that tight end conversation, Bobby, is, the size.
Yes.
Is so impressive. I mean, we've talked about it. There's 4 guys that we've talked about really dating back to the spring. Of course, Jordan Washington, the freshman, all 250 of them, looks like he could play the part. But even some guys behind them, right? Spencer Shannon at 6'6", 250, he looks like he could get on the field. I'm not saying you should expect that right now. Who knows what kind of development path he'll be on right now, but he certainly looks the part. Ridge Barker, the walk-on freshman out of Lovejoy, I mean, he looks 6'5", 240 pounds at the moment. So that entire room looks like it's taken that leap, whereas maybe a year ago you had 1, maybe 2, a guy and a half with kind of the new development of Gunnar Helm a year ago. You knew Jatavian Sanders was going to be that guy. Right now, the whole room looks like it's taken that leap, and it started at the front.
I want to come back and ask you about the edges. We're also going to take some comments here from folks as we have some time here. But I want to say thank you to our sponsor, HelloFresh. We all know home cooked meals are so much better for you, but you don't always have time to pull them off. But with HelloFresh handling all the meal planning, shopping, and most of the prep, it's easier than ever to get dinner on the table quick and painless. Easily customize your meals with protein or veggie swaps. And don't forget to check out HelloFresh Market for more delicious add-on items to jazz up your weekly deliveries. HelloFresh can save you time as well as be in accordance with what you want to do from a weight loss, weight prevention, in my case as well, situation. You've got to try it out. Right now, they're offering free breakfast for life for this meal kit. Go to HelloFresh.com/free on Texas. 1 free breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life just by going to HelloFresh.com/free on Texas. It is the #1 meal kit in America, HelloFresh.com. Again, home cooked meals, so much better for you in total, CJ. All right, I'll tell you what else is better for you. The edge play.
Yeah.
So let's go there. Somebody wants to know here, who was it that had it out here? Man, I just found it and I've lost it. Who would you guys expect to be the starting edges this coming season? Thank you, Matthew, our producer, for bringing that up for me.
Well, I'll tell you who was the starting duo today. It was Trey Moore and it was Barron Sorrell. So that's where we were at, four practices into fall camp. I did notice Ethan Burke and Justice Finkley running with that second unit as well. Colton Vosick on the third team defensive line edge room as well. So right now, I really like what I see from Trey Moore. And again, just to reiterate, he doesn't look like that's a guy with 22 sacks over the last 2 years, Bobby. We've talked about it. We've pounded that drum for a while now. But just watching him with the BGO and the quickness, it's all there. And he's really, really been impressive in today's practice session and dating back into some of the spring as well. For him and Barron Sorrell, who we've heard has been, almost that unquestioned leader of the Texas defense at the moment, to have both of them on the field, I think you knock out both setting the edge in terms of the run game, but also getting after the quarterback with, again, first look at Barron Sorrell this year. He's looking mighty impressive from a stature perspective.
What were your first thoughts? Because we are talking about CJ's, as we talked about, people that are just joining us now. This is CJ's first practice. What were your first initial thoughts on seeing Colin Simmons in fall camp?
Yeah, that was fun. I was able to watch a little bit of him on kickoff. So they went straight into special teams and he's lined up with kind of a hodgepodge of guys from different position groups. So at times you'll see a running back, a cornerback, a wide receiver kind of go through a little S drill where they had to evade one block from the left, one block to the right, and make a tackle on a practice dummy about 30 yards down the field, I'd say, 20 yards down the field. Colin Simmons went through that drill, Bobby, as if he was a cornerback, just as smooth as can be, weaving in and out of these drills. It was so impressive to watch him at 240, 245 pounds right now. That body transformation has carried over 100% from the spring. That's a guy who will see the field this year off of almost play style and physical stature alone. That was really impressive to see. Of course, we know the speed. We know the BGO with Colin is going to be, one of his calling cards. That was impressive.
Ball get off as BGO. You guys like to talk about it. Look, Colin Simmons doesn't look like a normal freshman either. Long armed, but stout. There's been pictures circulating of him with Micah Parsons, the Dallas Cowboys elite pass rusher, defensive player extraordinaire. Really, he's just really built well. A portion for football, longer arms than I remembered. Yeah, and he's more built out than expected for that age as well. Dead Balls here. It says, "Hey, when are you guys ever going to mention that Jade is going to play corner?" LOL. Here's the deal: we have not seen Jade line up at corner all camp. So while I have mentioned that. And that's it's my understanding based on what Steve Sarkisian has talked about in the media window sessions. And from what I know of it right now in teamwork, Jade has not lined up at corner yet. The expectation is that he will, and he's gotten some work there, but I haven't seen it. And so there's no LOL here for us.
Yeah.
We expect it, and we've talked about it. We just haven't seen it.
Yeah, I've heard it. I've heard that's going to be part of the plan this fall,
but it hasn't happened yet.
To our two eyes, Bobby.
Yeah.
And sometimes
four, thank you. Yeah.
But just haven't seen it yet on the practice field. It was Gavin Holmes and it was obviously Malik Muhammad at the two first team cornerback spots that we watched today. Again, I'm just waiting to see how much, if they do use him out there at all, Bobby, right? It's been kind of that unicorn in a sense of, we're waiting to see it. We're hearing all about it. I don't know until we see it. I guess it's still part of the master secret plan.
Yeah. I mean, we want Jade to play corner if that's what it's going to take, because Jalen Gilbo's obviously gotten the attention of the Texas coaches.
Yeah, certainly.
I mean, it's just clear for whatever reason, he's going to be a guy they like. They've already put the helmet communication on him. They put it on Anthony Hill. He looked good again. David Benda was out there today. Darian Gillette was running some second team today as well.
I thought he looked really impressive.
Darian Gillette?
Yep. He has that frame of just a longer kind of modern age positionless linebacker, if you will. And he looked really impressive. I was surprised when I saw a big body walk by me. And I said, who is that? I did that twice today. First was with Alex January. The second time was with Darian Gillette.
Yep, good stuff. All right, a couple other questions. This one from David Keith Williams. My opinion of DJ Campbell as a recruit and player for Texas has been very high. Hearing that he's lost quite a bit of weight makes me think even higher of his potential this year. He has lost a good amount of weight. I mean, I think he's in the 330s now, which is probably what is ideal for him as a playing weight, so he doesn't lose any natural strength. I will say this. One of his big attributes are not only his long arms, but his quickness, his body quickness. He is the one guy. Now there's two guys on the offensive front that I think could have played defense, him and Daniel Cruz.
Yeah.
Daniel Cruz could be a nose tackle if he wanted to be. He's quick enough. But I will say this, from watching the O-line today, the three quickest offensive linemen were Daniel Campbell, Daniel Cruz, or DJ Campbell.
Yep.
Daniel Cruz and Nato Omiyazulu. Those three were they have a really quick, natural first step.
Really good to have on your interior.
Yeah.
When it comes to pulling, when it comes to reaching the second level, those three guys I have in, really that middle of your offensive line, encouraging to hear.
Yeah, well, and it's not about so much of that guy. Those positions are about strike first.
Yes. Whereas
offensive tackles, they're in the retreat position, quite frankly,
right.
About half the time. And so I thought that was interesting overall as well. Somebody's asking here, how is Quinn looking? This was your first time. I'm going to give you the floor. Tell us about what you thought about not only Quinn, but the quarterbacks as a whole.
Yeah, so during these kickoff or kind of special teams period, the quarterbacks, the defensive line, they go off into what I would call like the nub of the end zone. It's beyond the 100 yards. It's back behind the goalposts in their own little corner of the practice session. So I was watching a lot of the defensive line just to get an idea and edge rooms just to get a look at what these guys could go through. But as a result, you saw some of the quarterbacks back there going through really just some accuracy drills. Catch a snap, go through a quick read, get your feet right, and throw the ball about 20 yards. I think they had a trash can set up about 20 yards down the field. They had 2 throws. One was to the trash can. The other was to what was a crossing route or so about 15 yards down the field. So Quinn, I saw 2 throws. The first was to the crossing route. It was right between the numbers, if you will. The other one rimmed out of the trash can 20 yards down the field. So that was all I watched of Quinn, but that's all I needed to see. That, he 2 throws, Bobby, just right there.
So I agree with that. What I liked about Quinn, we talked at the outset of this video and podcast about how they took those 6 plays and ran them at the start of each of the period. Not only did Quinn do it, but Arch did it and Trey Owens. I thought there was a noticeable amount more of quickness with Quinn than Arch, and then Arch of Trey Owens. So they were the speed with which the offense operated under Quinn was a little bit quicker, which you would expect.
Yeah,
certainly. I mean, it's what you would expect. But from that standpoint, I don't necessarily think we saw tight window throws or anything like that today. It wasn't a competitive practice with what we saw right now. All right, we're going to finish with this one for today. We got to get going because Steve Sarkisian will be going to the media availability here in the next 30 minutes. And so we got to hop on over there. Jacob Luna asks, how are the safeties looking? CJ, you mentioned that Jelani McDonald ran first team today with Michael Taft. I think that's just a rotational thing.
I agree.
The 3 best safeties I've seen for the 3 days I've been in practice have been Taft along with Derek Williams, who's having a really good fall camp, as well as Andrew Makuba, who looks like he's acclimated.
Yes.
Is the best way I can put that. He looks like he understands what he's trying to do, which is good because he's the transfer from Clemson that just came in the spring.
Yeah, absolutely. There's those 4 guys, Bobby. I want to touch on each one real quick. First off, Michael Taft, green jersey again, eager to get it off. That's going to be a guy that sees the field. I know Texas fans, he's kind of a polarizing guy at times, and he will see the field. His leadership is too important. His experience is very important. 3 straight games with an interception a year ago. That's a guy that will be in the rotation, bar none, right? Andrew Makuba, to your point, not the largest guy, only about 185, 190 pounds whenever you put all the pads on. But he does feel more comfortable playing in this system. I kept a close eye on him. I kept the video so I could, kind of go back and watch it again. He was in the right spot where he needed to be before the offense even put the ball down to get snapped. And that's just play recognition, right? Understanding what the formation is, what the call is, and getting to his spot. I thought that was impressive for him. Obviously, a guy with plenty of experience and snaps under his belt. Jelani McDonald, my question is, will he be able to play with what's going on in front of him? And that's, a thing for –
while being able to turn and run, too.
Yes. And we saw it a little bit in the spring game. He, might have had a little tunnel vision on the quarterback, had a route come in underneath in front of him, and that play ended up going for a touchdown. So I thought that was a bit interesting. Yes, Roscoe Taft's hand situation, he injured his hand a little bit late last year against Texas Tech. He's had a brace on it. He had it dealt with late spring. He maybe didn't,
he basically didn't want to come out of the game against Tech.
That's right.
Or Oklahoma State or Washington. Tried to play through it some in the spring as well. Decided to finally go get it looked at. He'll be fine by the opener.
Yeah, absolutely. That's not going to be something that keeps him off the field.
Yeah. I think that's fair. All right, that's going to do it for today's practice report. We'll be over at Steve Sarkisian's press conference later. I've also got a special video coming up with our friend Brian Irwin, the former head football coach, 2-time state champion of the Lamar Cougars. It's our inaugural edition of Lunch with the Coach for this season later today. For CJ Vogel, I'm Bobby Burton. This has been a special practice report of On Texas Football.